The events of the novel, Fahrenheit 451, take place in a dystopian future where everyone is incredibly distant from one another, not even realizing that war is imminent. Our protagonist, Guy Montag, is a firefighter, but not in the way you would think. He's responsible for starting fires, as well as burning the interiors of homes due to the homes containing books, which are outlawed in this society. Montag learns, through a girl living across the street, that there's more to life than living in solitude and staring at the wall. The government of this story has incredibly strict laws on books, that those caught with them are either jailed while their books burn, or murdered by a mechanical beast known as the Hound. These harsh punishments of those breaking censorship laws are similar to a past society's method of punishing lawbreakers. Starting in 1922, when Joseph Stalin came into power after Vladimir Lenin passed, he created the USSR, a union of Soviet Socialist republics in Russia, which harshly censored radio, books, art, television, press, and music in order to have its citizens feel confident in Stalin and his methods of exerting power. His methods of censorship are similar to the government in the novel and its laws on books and the media.
It was incredibly common during Stalin's reign of the USSR that any and all American radio waves were intercepted so as not to be heard by the public. This was to assure Stalin that American ideals weren't seen as something to agree on by a society under his control. This is fairly similar to how the government in Fahrenheit 451 handles censorship, as they have the power to easily censor anyone in the society that doesn't agree with their ideals. This is shown when Clarice, the person who impacts Montag the most and causes him to see the world in a different light, is suddenly nowhere to be found. Beatty seems to know more about the sudden disappearance as he tells Montag she's better off dead. By also saying that the government has been watching her for some time, Beatty seems to indicate that they're trying to weed out those who go against their ideal society. This is much like how Stalin wanted to get rid of those who opposed him in his viewpoints.
Much like the fictional government in the novel, Stalin's government relied on manipulating the society by controlling their points of view, what they listened to, and their knowledge. The USSR controlled the radio, the news, television, media, and the press, keeping it from view of the public if it went against what Stalin believed. He attempted to make those in his society oblivious and distant to the outside world. A 15-second clip of the song Moscow by the German group Genghis Khan was shown as part of the New Year holiday lineup on the state-run TV, leading to the immediate dismissal of the network's director, much like how the government in Fahrenheit 451 has created seashells, objects that emit deafening white noise in order to keep certain people from hearing things that might change how they think. The most prominent example of this is Montag's wife, Mildred. She is seen as incredibly distant from Montag, and she almost overdoses on sleeping pills, though she never knows why. The seashell affects her relationship with Montag tremendously, as she hasn't heard his voice in years. This is incredibly similar to Stalin's reign over the USSR, as both governments try their hardest to keep its people distant from one another so nobody learns of conflicting ideas.
Though the biggest difference between these societies is that the USSR was real. Both societies have similar ideals. This could be because Fahrenheit 451's author, Ray Bradbury, wrote the book during the Cold War, an arms race between Russia, which was, at the time, the USSR, and NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which was constructed of Britain, the US, Canada, France, and other Western European countries. During the time he wrote the book, he was living in Britain, which could be why he wrote about a society that also mirrors the USSR in both political and manipulative tactics. Both societies hate conflicting ideas and heavily censor opposing viewpoints.
Fahrenheit 451 and the USSR have governments that are incredibly similar in both terms of political power and manipulation tactics over both societies shown. Both societies have been seen as going completely overboard by heavily censoring any and all opposing ideas. There's barely any freedom.
Молдаванка по тропинке в лес ушла, том авизу я путь увидел, что с собой не позвала, а смуглянке молдаванке часто думала по ночам. Вдруг мою смуглянку вся в отряде покричал: «Насмуглявый, зеленый лист лесной, здравствуй, парень, ты замуленный мой родной, зеленый, заглянный город».